Hey everybody, this is Hill along with Dave Clayman.
Hey, what's up everyone?
And we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Assassin's Creed 2 trailer. We have to look at the trailer for information about Assassin's Creed 2 because Ubisoft is being pretty tight-lipped about this game.
Okay, so getting right into it. At the beginning of this trailer, you fly over the hillsides right into Florence. And you see the chapel of Florence, you see the skyline, it's pretty unique, and you can tell that right away. And then you dip down into what looks like a basement here. I just want to mention that the Medici family was very prominent in Florence. They controlled a lot of it, and they commissioned Michelangelo to do a lot of works down there. And I think in that scene where you shoot over the skyline and then back out into the tomb, it looks like a little bit like the Medici's tomb that Michelangelo designed. So you can see that right here. It's probably not actually that tomb, but I just wanted to mention that the Medici family is all buried there. They have the Medici chapel there, and they're one of the families of power in Assassin's Creed 2.
And it should be mentioned, Dave, that you did actually live in Venice for a year.
Yeah, I lived in Venice for a while, so I'm familiar with a lot of this stuff. But right after you see the tomb, you see a lot of...
You used to date this chick, right?
Yeah, we went out once or twice. It didn't work out, though. Couldn't tell if she was a woman or a man, because Leonardo never really told us. So what we had is a montage there of Renaissance art, and I'm not sure how important all of that is, but it is to show you that this is going to be in Italy, and there's going to be a lot of artistic elements you'll recognize.
And this now, I've been to Florence, and I recognize this. This does look like the Duomo in Florence that has the billion steps. This will give you, at least in modern times, this will give you the highest point that you can get to in Florence, and it actually gives you a full view of the city. But it really does have like 1,000-something steps, and it is a piece of work to get up to the top of that.
It's very difficult, and what's cool is that getting to highest points is usually a part of the Assassin's Creed gameplay, and now you see yourself getting to a high point from the inside of a building, which is very interesting.
Also, for the first time, we can confirm that the moon still exists back in this time. So
the moon is in.
You may be journeying to the moon. This might be his next destination point. We're not sure.
So we saw the art, and now you start to see a montage, and this is interesting right here. This looks like possibly another assassin, possibly a handoff.
Yeah, possibly a pass-off. And then the coolest part, they said, they're not going to have the, riding a horse through the countryside, but clearly you are stealing this stagecoach.
Yeah, it looks like there could be stagecoach jacking confirmed in Assassin's Creed 2. You can see the guy hang off the edge, an enemy, and then you're at the reins right there. Which is very cool stuff.
And then probably the best part, well, first of all, we should mention, if you look very closely, you can see, it's a little bit blurry, but you can see the face of Ezio, the main character, and confirm that even though you are playing as a different assassin, you still look like a douchebag.
Yeah, you still look like the bartender from Montreal, which is very interesting. And we've swapped over to Venice here, so we started in Florence, and now there's a mixture of Florence and Venice being shown in these fight scenes.
And what's cool is that, we saw a little bit of the fighting at E3, but this shows much more than what, we were told about. You can see some really dynamic stuff here, and this is also someplace somewhat famous, correct, Dave?
Yeah, so as we're swapping back and forth, you can see Florence there, and then St. Mark's here. You can see the Doge's Palace, and this is in St. Mark's Square, the famous shots of Venice. If you've ever seen a picture of Venice, you've probably seen it in this square, and with the water in the background in the shot prior to this, this is the most famous section of Venice.
Also, this guy on the right, honestly, if you're going to die by some double-bladed assassin, this is the worst look you can ever have on your face. This guy just doesn't see it coming.
He doesn't know what's happening at all.
It's kind of sad.
And of course, the double blade attack, as they've touted, 2 blades because it's Assassin's Creed 2.
And now people might say, "Ooh, did they get rid of the blood?" But we should mention that because of the ESRB, usually you try to avoid having blood in the trailers. So there will be blood in the game itself, which is rated M. Don't worry.
Yeah, and it's really cool to see a bunch of different weapons used here and attacks. Kicking the sword as a guarding mode method is completely awesome. That was my favorite part of this trailer by far.
Yeah, this is a pretty great moment. This is a great counter move, and then followed up by the stab. So even though you can take other people's weapons now, still it's the blades and being up close is really what's going to count. And this is my personal favorite part because he's got a staff, he gets cut in half, and it's not some kind of thing where it just knocks it out of your hands. He can actually still use it now as 2 individual pieces of sticks and still knock this guy out.
Really fluid
you're
combat.
An assassin.
And that part right back there, if you go back for a second, where it shows a slightly different background, slightly different coloration, you know that they changed the city's coloration a lot when they switched to a different place. This doesn't actually look like Florence. It doesn't really look like Venice either. I'm not really sure where this is. If I had to guess, I'd say Milan. You can see a lot of brickwork, and actually the armor's a little bit different on the guys. I don't know about that, so maybe take my word for it, but this looks like a different city.
Yeah, and we should say too, I mean, Ubisoft really hasn't talked too much about the different locales other than Venice and Florence, but we know there's going to be other places, and Milan and certainly Rome would make sense.
Yeah.
We don't see anything that looks like it would be Rome here.
Milan was a medieval fortress city, so that would be a quite interesting place to go. Oh, you can see the women dressed up very nicely. This is probably in Venice during Carnival, and they're looking quite delightful.
And once again, you can see that your guy definitely clearly looks like a douchebag.
And walking through the city, and for this last scene, this last montage, I'd have to say this is probably in Venice, just by the architecture. Not positive about any of this, but this courtyard looks like the end courtyard from Casino Royale, where that shot was filmed. You can remember the machine guns going off. Again, I'm not positive about that, but if you've seen the end of that movie, you notice a lot of similarities in Venice.
So that's a quick look at Assassin's Creed 2, which is coming out in November for just about any console that can run high-res graphics. For Dave Clayman, I'm Hillary Goldstein. Be sure to check out IGN.com for more on Assassin's Creed 2.